So, friends, if we can give our attention now to our brother Mark Yeomans from the city congregation, as he's going to answer the question for us, what is religion's future? So, thank you, brother Mark.
So that's our question for the morning. What is religion's future? And maybe we could just start by saying, well, we believe the future of religion is a really good one, really positive. And this is a religious gathering, so that's pleasing to know, isn't it? The effort that we've made to be here really is going to benefit us, because the future of religion is a very good one. And we're going to be talking about that during the course of our discussion, but also just reminding ourselves of some of the decisions that we may need to make personally that will help us to benefit from the wonderful future that religion has. What is religion, if we were to define it? Well, there's possibly different ways to define it. In fact, there are. Here's one definition. Religion is the expression of humans' reverence for a superhuman power, recognised as the creator and governor of the universe. So, a recognition that beyond our existence as humans, there is something superhuman, something beyond that. In fact, a powerful creator of the things that we see around us. And a desire to recognise that, but also to worship that creator, finding reasons to do that. Worshipping the true God takes our life beyond the ordinary, beyond a purely self-centred way of looking at things. It raises our thinking to something higher than that, recognising that we've been made by a God of love and wanting to reciprocate. Jesus expressed it best, didn't he? He said there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. And so our worship of a creator who's given us, provided for us so abundantly, so beautifully, so generously, brings happiness to our lives. We want to give good things to our friends and our family, of course, but the highest giving that we could give is to our creator. And so when we think of what religion involves, that worship, that reverence for a creator, well, it really is a positive thing. Helps our life to be satisfying even when things around us are going wrong. So there's some positive things to say about religion. Do you think everybody agrees with that, though, in our community? Well, we're not to generalise, but we could say that there's an element in society here in Australia that has a degree of scepticism toward organised religion. Would we say, maybe when we talk to colleagues or others in the community, there's an element of scepticism among some. Why would people be sceptical of organised religion, do you think? Maybe it's from different experiences. Maybe to go back a little bit in time, Chairman mentioned I'm from the city congregation. Our Kingdom Hall's in the city, a block away from another ancient religious facility, the Sydney Cricket Ground. That's where we're located. I'm not going to talk about that one, but a couple of kilometres down away, there's a part in there in Sydney. Maybe you've seen it, but it's a stone obelisk, and it commemorates the first church building in Australia. Now, of course, before the first fleet came with European settlement, there was obviously the Aboriginal community here, and they had religious observances. But what that obelisk represents is the first building that was erected for worship. And there's a commemorative pillar there for it. Now, how was that religious services conducted? Well, of course, there were convicts back there, and the government at the time thought, well, religion is a pretty good way of keeping people under a little bit of control, and it was used in that way. And And in fact, going to church became obligatory. People had to go, and the law back there was that if you didn't go as convicts, your rations would be reduced even further. If you didn't attend, people were compelled to go to that church. Depending on the historians and the historical records we look at, the penalties could go beyond having your rations cut. There's even records of people being put in the stocks or threatened with being put in the stocks if they didn't attend that church. So the commemorative pillar is there, recognised in that building. It says there it was opened on August 25th, 1793. And you may not be surprised to learn that the convicts weren't terribly happy with that building, and it was burned down on October the 1st, 1798. So maybe that's a little bit of a start of the element of scepticism toward the way organised religion is conducted. And we see that in community. People see elements of religions that really dishonour God by the way they are conducted. And so we have in society, maybe not to generalise, but some who obviously sincere about their religion, others maybe not so sincere, but they enjoy maybe the family element or the cultural element of their religion. They see it as an opportunity to get together on special occasions, and so they go along for those reasons. They don't believe what they're taught necessarily, but they're happy to participate in it. Well, does that matter then, do you think? And maybe some in our audience are just starting to learn here the Bible. Maybe you're starting on a Bible study, learning the difference, some of the elements of worship that might not be so favourable. Is it harmless for you to maybe continue in a religion that you've been brought up in, that your family enjoys? Is it harmless to continue with those beliefs or those cultural practices, even if you're not really a personal believer in those things yourself? Well, when we think about our answer to that, it really depends on the future of religion, doesn't it? Now, we've said that the future of religion is positive, but there's a little caution there, and it's given by Christ Jesus himself. Maybe we can take out our Bible, John chapter 4, and John chapter 4, let's have a look, verse 23 and 24. And we're going to see the words here of Jesus himself. He spoke about religion. He said there, nevertheless, John 4:23, nevertheless, the hour is coming, and it is now, when the true worshippers will worship the Father with spirit and truth. For indeed, the Father is looking for ones like these to worship him. Well, what do we learn in our verses there about religion, would you say? Did you pick up some points that Jesus gave there about religion? Well, did you notice there the word Jesus used, true worship? And he said it again a couple of times, didn't he? He's talking about spirit and truth. In verse 24, he said, well, you must worship with spirit and truth. So if there is true worship, what's the implication of that? Well, Jesus is implying clearly, isn't he, that there's also false worship. There's true worship and there's false worship. Jesus wasn't saying, well, they're all good and they're all going to get you to the same place and they're all benign and helpful. But he said, well, there's truth and there's what's false. So Jesus made that distinction there. What else do we notice him saying about worship there? Did you notice that beautiful expression that he uses there? The Father. He talks about his God, our God, as the Father. A father who really cares for his children, loves his children. And so true worship is based on a warm relationship with God, not an impersonal being or something that is there to compel people and make people feel guilty or just try to pressure people. A father, a loving father, wanting to provide guidance and good things for his children. And that's really why, the basis for worship, isn't it? Love for our Creator. And do you notice something else there that Jesus said about the Father? What do you think about his expression there? The Father is looking for ones like these to worship him. Can you imagine there in the heavens, the Creator of the universe looking for people, really wanting to search out individuals, just that love for people, to really look for people, to draw them to him. So if we're here today, our Father has drawn us and is drawing us, not only us, but wants to draw our family members. Maybe we're here on our own today. He's looking for people, looking for our family, looking for our neighbours, our friends, wants the best and wants them to know the truth. So true religion really draws people closer to their Creator, and we contrast that with false worship. And what it does for people, undermining the trust. And we're maybe familiar with that in our lives. So like, it's become rife these days. Identity fraud has become something part of our lives, hasn't it? And maybe you've been affected by elements of this. And if not you, but your family members, your friends, we all know, don't we? A person pretending, a scam artist pretending to be your doctor or a professional medical person, just taking on that identity. Or imagine how dangerous it would be if someone pretended to be a police officer. They're not really, but they make a pretense of that. You receive a phone call and it's someone pretending to be someone from your bank or something along those lines. We've encountered things like that, and we know how dangerous and devastating identity fraud can be. But we're talking here about the most serious form of identity fraud, where organisations pretend to be representing our Father, but it's false. And the danger that has, the impact on society, on individuals' lives. And so if we just go back and some other words of Jesus, maybe just taking our Bibles there, Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15. Matthew 7 verse 15, Jesus said, "Be on the watch for the false prophets. They come to you in sheep's covering, but inside they are ravenous wolves." Well, how do you know the difference? Well, it can be difficult with identity fraud, can't it? Very easy for people to be taken in. Well, Jesus gave a clear explanation there of verse 16. He said, "By their fruits you will recognise them." So what's the fruit? Well, it's what something produces. So we have a tree, and it's a fruit tree, grows fruit. And Jesus made the point, well, if it's growing bad fruit, well, the tree's bad. If it's growing good fruit, well, the tree is good. So by their fruits. So what is the fruitage, would we say, of religion? What can we say identifies false religion? What's some of its fruitage? Well, maybe let's have a think. Let's turn now to some other words of Jesus in the book of Mark. Mark chapter 7. Would we say this can be true of many religions? Jesus said of these false worshippers, he says, "It is in vain," Mark 7 verse 7, "it is in vain that they keep worshipping me, for they teach commands of men as doctrines." and then just changes the wording slightly, but just to help us get the point. You let go of the commandment of God and cling to the tradition of men. And so many religions we see today are based on ancient traditions. And it gives an aura of something special. It's a religion, and our parents are in it, or our grandparents, and go back in time for hundreds of years, thousands of years, they say. It's a tradition. But Jesus pointed out, at the end of the day, verse there, it's a command of men. It started somewhere with some human coming up with what has become a tradition. And Jesus said, well, that's in vain, because it takes people away from the commands of God. What does God teach? What is the truth? And we see religions today clinging to old traditions, but don't help people understand, well, what is it that God wants for us? In fact, many religions, even those that claim to use the Bible, really by their practices discredit the Bible by really not following it in any way. For example, how many religions will even teach their adherents what God's name is? To know the name of our own Father, be able to address him on a personal basis, Jehovah. But religions have obscured that name and undermined just the beginnings even of people getting to know personally their Father. In contrast, Jesus said in John 17:26 that he made God's name known to his disciples. And when we think about it, what did that mean? Well, Jesus was teaching his disciples in Israel. They really knew God's name. They knew God's name was Jehovah or Yahweh. They knew the name. What was Jesus saying there that he helped them to get to know the name? Well, what Jehovah's name represents as a person is Jesus helped people to understand God's personality, his way of thinking, his love, and in action demonstrating really how Jehovah felt about things and how he feels about us, Jehovah's qualities. Jesus really got to help people to know that. But from false worship does not help people to get to know that. For example, Jesus taught people the good news of the kingdom, and we can see there if we turn to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. Jesus described it this way. He said, there's good news, and this good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the inhabited earth for a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. So Jesus, he was preaching about the kingdom. He was demonstrating what the kingdom would accomplish and the results of it. And he wanted that good news to be preached in all the inhabited earth. Now, are false religions doing that? Well, it's a statement of the obvious, they aren't. Many religions are very focused on their national identity and they stick within a national concept. But Jehovah has love for the whole earth, wants everyone to know good news, not of a human political solution to problems, but that God's kingdom will accomplish a restoration of the earth to paradise conditions. Righteous conditions will prevail, not by some human institution, but by God himself and his kingdom with Christ Jesus as the King. Well, what a beautiful future that's being obscured really by false worship and really their identity fraud, not allowing people to get to know that. But positively, what does it say there? Well, the good news of the kingdom will be preached. And so we can see that That's true. Jesus' prophecy is true. But who is doing that? Well, true worship, certainly not false. And we see around the world a decline in moral standards despite the prevalence of religion, a terrible moral climate that we live in. Well, that again is fruitage. The fruitage, it's the outcome of false worship. And so when we think about a comparison, religions, maybe one that we've been brought up in, well, the fruitage is not good. And so that just helps us to be clearer in mind about the stand that we can take. Well, our question really was, what is the future of religion? What is the future of false religion first? Maybe we can go back on that point. What is the outcome for false worship? Will they all just continue on as they have for hundreds or thousands of years? Well, Jehovah doesn't leave us in any doubt about this. He makes it clear, and he does that for a reason, just to help us to make a decision, to recognise that it's important. It's not simply a lifestyle choice, the religion that we associate with, but it's an important decision. Let's have a read, Revelation chapter 17, and we're going to read here about a judgment that's recorded. Revelation chapter 17, we'll just read the first two verses. A judgment on a great prostitute. So let's read about that there. It says, one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment on the great prostitute who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed sexual immorality, and earth's inhabitants were made drunk with the wine of her sexual immorality." Well, it's a judgment on a great prostitute. Now, where are we reading from? We're reading from the book of Revelation. So what does this help us to understand? Are we talking about a literal person, do you think? Well, the fact that we're reading from the book of Revelation, we know Revelation is given in signs, in symbols. And so we're not talking about a literal prostitute here, but it's referring to something symbolic. So that raises a question. Well, what is symbolised by this prostitute here recorded in the book of Revelation? Well, we get some more details in verse 4 and 5. It says, "The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet, and she was adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. And she had in her hand a golden cup that was full of disgusting things and the unclean things of her sexual immorality. On her forehead was written a name, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitutes and of the disgusting things of the earth." Well, now we're getting a little bit closer. The prostitute has a name, Babylon the Great, and mentions there not just any type of prostitute being symbolised here, but the mother of the prostitutes. We could almost say the madam of the brothel is this one that is being judged. Well, who is it? Well, we know it's not a literal woman, a literal person. But we did read that the prostitute sits on many waters. So what would that represent, symbolise? Well, we don't have to guess. Verse 15 tells us, "The waters that you saw where the prostitute is sitting, this means peoples and crowds and nations and tongues." So she sits over many waters, has influence over vast amounts of people, nations and tongues throughout the earth, international membership. Well, if that's the case, could she be symbolising the political elements of the earth? Well, what would indicate from what we've read that that's not the case? She doesn't symbolise the political elements. Well, we read, didn't we, that she commits immorality with the kings of the earth. So she's not the same as the kings of earth, but she commits immorality with them. So we're not talking about the political institutions. Could she be maybe the commercial elements of the earth? Well, they've created some havoc around the world, greedy commercial elements. Well, let's have a look maybe over the page of your Bibles, Revelation 18, verse 15. It says there, talking about all the wealth that the prostitute has, the merchants who sold these things, who became rich from her, will stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment and will weep and mourn. So the merchants of the earth, the commercial elements, well, again, they are separate. So we're not talking about the commercial elements of the earth. So what's left? Well, we're getting closer, really, aren't we? Have a look down in verse 23. It says there, no light of a lamp will ever shine in you again, and no voice of a bridegroom and of a bride will ever be heard in you again. For your merchants were the top-ranking men of the earth, and by your spiritistic practices all the nations were misled. So the prostitution, the spiritual prostitution, is spiritistic practices, false religious practices is involved. So really, Babylon the Great is this world empire of false religion. Is it a specific religion that we're talking about, maybe with large influence? Well, no, because the prophecy here is talking about things on a global scale. And so all the various elements of false religion around the world in totality make up Babylon the Great, this world empire of false religion. Well, what is the outcome for Babylon the Great? Well, let's go back to chapter 17, verse 16. It says, well, the 10 horns that you saw in the wild beast, these political elements, these will hate the prostitute and will make her devastated and naked. They will eat up her flesh and completely burn her with fire. So the time will come when politics and religions, which have so often worked hand in hand to control people, it will change. Political elements of Satan's system will attack false religion and destroy her influence and devastate her riches. That's the outcome of false religion. So what's the importance then for us? What do you think Jehovah wants for us? He's looking for us. And he knows that many people that he's looking for, he loves, have been brought up being taught religious falsehoods, or their family. What does he want? Well, notice, let's go back, sorry to keep going backwards and forwards. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4 and 5. Here really is what Jehovah wants for us. And I heard another voice out of heaven say, "Get out of her, my people. If you do not want to share with her in her sins, and if you do not want to receive part of her plagues." Well, there's the appeal, isn't it? To help us to separate ourselves from false worship. And that can be more of a challenge for some than others, can't it? Like, some of us have had the opportunity, it's a real privilege, and young ones in the audience, your parents have brought you up with the truth. What a wonderful privilege they've given to you. And no one's going to force you what you do as you grow older or what your beliefs are, but you've got something precious. And others of us have had to make our own way. Jehovah's drawn us, but we've come out of false religion or are making those steps. And that's a more difficult challenge sometimes. But if you are, know that Jehovah is looking for you. He will support you. And so the difficulties that may be involved culturally or in your community or within your family even, making a clear distinction not to be involved in traditions that have a false religious element. Jehovah will really support your courage in coming away from that. And think of the benefits that will have, not just for you, but for your family, as they see the decision you're making. And that will help them to think too. Many people go along with religions because it's just something they've been brought up with. Now, you've made a bit of a change and you're starting to learn. Think of the benefits now for other members of your family. What they can do now with your example as you take a firm stance for a love for the truth, just as Jesus had. Loving what is true and getting to know God in truth. And think of the benefits of that. When we see the degradation of the world today, the moral climate that we live in, what a refreshing change when we see the future of true religion, when everyone on earth is a worshipper of the true God, when everyone loves his righteous standards, when everyone truly loves their neighbour. What a wonderful future we have. What a wonderful future there is for true religion, as all of us unitedly show our love and our praise for the true God, our Creator, Jehovah.
On behalf of the Blacktown congregation, Brother Mark, we'd like to say thank you for the wonderful talk on reminding us about the differences between the true religion and false religion. We look forward to hearing another talk from you in the future. Thank you. Move on to the second half of our meeting. I'd like to invite Brother Fukutripi to the platform to conduct the watchtower study.
Well, it's nice to welcome you all along this morning to this week's Watchtower study. To commence this part of our program, we'd like to invite you to sing a song of praise. It's song 111, Our Reasons for Joy. So if you're able to, we encourage you to stand and join in singing that song. Well, this morning we're focusing in on study article 31. Its title is, Have You Learned the Secret of Contentment? We all like a good secret, don't we? The moment somebody says secret, we want to know what it is. So hopefully that's how you feel about our discussion today. Our theme scriptures from Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. I have learned to be self-sufficient regardless of my circumstances. Well, what's the focus of our discussion? Well, our focus is learning these things. To be content by cultivating gratitude, by being focused and humble, and then by meditating on our hope for the future. So those three areas are really going to show us the key, the secret, if you like, to contentment. So let's get underway. We'll invite our reader today, Brother Kreider, to read paragraph 1 for us.
Are you a contented person? Someone who's content finds joy and peace by focusing on his current blessings. He does not feel bitter or angry because of what he lacks. Nevertheless, being content does not mean being complacent. For example, a Christian rightly reaches out for opportunities to expand his service. Even so, he does not lose his joy if privileges of service do not come as quickly as he had expected.
Okay, paragraph 1, our question. What does contentment mean and what does it not mean? Okay, let's have Sister Hunter in the back there, thanks.
To be Contentment means to be happy with what we already have.
Very nice. Thanks for that. And then we'll have Sister Rankin, please.
Contentment means finding joy and peace by focusing on the blessings that we have and not becoming bitter or resentful about what we don't have.
Yeah, very good. And Brother Arias, thanks.
We also get to see that this doesn't simply apply to when it comes to material things, but it could be that a brother perhaps is reaching out for a privilege and he doesn't receive it at the time he was expecting, but he's content with what he's doing now, waiting for something later.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and Brother Nicholson, thanks.
And when it comes to those spiritual things and reaching out, it doesn't mean we become complacent. I'm just happy where I am. We still striving with the right attitude, that humble attitude, to do more in Jehovah's service and then wait on him.
Yeah, very good. And what doesn't it mean? Just to be clear on that. Thanks, Sister Malencia.
So it doesn't mean being complacent.
Yeah, okay. And Brother Hamilton, please, back up here. Thanks, Brother John.
So not being complacent would entail if opportunities present themselves for us to reach out towards, we should definitely do that.
Okay. Very good. So, and Sister Barlow, thanks.
And when we don't have something or others do, we don't want to be bitter or angry about what we lack personally.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, let's have a look further in paragraph 2. Thanks, Brother Crider.
Discontentment can lead to serious consequences. Those who are never satisfied with what they have may work extremely long hours to obtain material things that are not really needed. Sadly, a few Christians have even stolen money and other things they desired. They may have told themselves, "I deserve it. I've waited long enough, or I will pay the money back later." Yet, stealing of any kind displeases and dishonors Jehovah. Others have become so disappointed at not receiving a privilege of service that they have given up serving Jehovah altogether. How could a dedicated worshiper of Jehovah even think of doing that? The problem may be that the person has stopped cultivating contentment.
Paragraph 2, our question, why is discontentment so dangerous? Okay, we'll get young Penny. Thanks.
Stealing is bad.
I didn't quite catch that.
Stealing is bad.
Stealing is bad.
Yes, very true. Okay. Thanks, Brother Denzel.
Sometimes discontentment can lead to unsatisfiedness and would involve stealing or telling themselves that they deserve it or even desired it, which made Jehovah really upset.
Thanks for that. Okay. Sister Castro, thanks.
Discontentment is really dangerous because it will make us feel that we have to do more to satisfy our fleshly desires. For example, we may have to work extremely long hours to obtain more material things than we actually needed, and we have just learned in the book of Ecclesiastes that it is all futility.
Very good. And Sister Labraga, please.
And spiritually speaking, if we are discontent with what appears to be a delay on receiving a privilege of service to Jehovah, a person might tire out, like the Apostle Paul mentioning to the Galatians, and if they tire out, they might give up in their relationship with Jehovah.
Yes, and then what happens with contentment if that's our focus? What might we do? Thanks, Sister Valencia.
So the contentment is out of the picture, and because of this disappointment, as Galatians 6:9 said, that in due time they will reap if they do not tire out. So better not to give up. And even the dedicated worshiper of Jehovah, just to think about it, it's not really a good thing. It's really dangerous and will have a serious consequences, and especially if they stop cultivating the contentment.
Yes, that's exactly what will happen, isn't it? So we don't want to do that. So let's have a look further in this opening section at paragraph 3. Thanks, Brother Crider.
We all can cultivate contentment. The Apostle Paul wrote that he had learned to be self-sufficient regardless of his circumstances. He wrote those words while imprisoned. Even so, he had not lost his joy. He had learned the secret of contentment. If we struggle to be content, Paul's words and experience can assure us that we can develop contentment. We should not expect that we will naturally feel content with our circumstances. Rather, we must learn to be content. How? Let us discuss qualities that will help us learn the secret of contentment.
Let's get a reader for Philippians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12. Thanks. We'll get Brother Daniel down the front here. Thanks.
Not that I am saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be self-sufficient, regardless of my circumstances. I know how to be low on provisions, and how to have an abundance. In everything and in all circumstances, I have learned the secret of both how to be full and how to hunger, both how to have an abundance and how to do without.
Nicely read. Thanks for that. So our question, what reassuring truth do we learn about in Philippians 4, verse 11 and 12? Thanks, Sister Lee. Thanks. Kim, sorry.
In Philippians chapter 4:11, the Apostle Paul said that he had learned to be content in any situation, seeing how he was satisfied with the basic things in life and faithfully carried out his ministry while relying on God. We can understand that he was able to overcome difficult circumstances and maintain joy because he put Jehovah first in his life.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks for that. And Sister Christina, while you're there, thanks, Brother Frank.
And Paul mentioned, I have learned the secret of both how to be full and how to hunger, both how to have an abundance and how to do without. He is teaching us that he has learned the secret of contentment no matter what his situation is. Whether he has plenty or nothing, whether his life is easy or hard, even when he is in prison, he is still happy. So he can assure us based on his experience that we can develop contentment too.
Very nice, thanks. And Brother Ben, please.
And we cannot expect to naturally feel content with our circumstances, but it's something we have to actively work on. We must learn to be content.
Yeah, very good. So do we want to understand the secret that Paul discovered? I'm sure we do. Well, let's break it down into those components. So what are they? What did you notice we're going to focus on first of all? Cultivate gratitude. So let's have a look at that. Thanks, Brother Crider, as we read paragraph 4.
A grateful spirit nurtures contentment. For example, when we are truly thankful for the necessities of life, we are less likely to be overly concerned about the things we want but do not have. When we reflect appreciatively on the privileges of service we enjoy now, we will focus on doing our best in those assignments instead of becoming obsessed with receiving a new privilege. No wonder the scriptures urge us to include expressions of thanks to Jehovah in our prayers. Having a grateful spirit helps us to feel the peace of God that surpasses all understanding.
Okay, let's get a reader for 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18. Okay. Thanks, Sister O.
Give thanks for everything. This is God's will for you in Christ Jesus.
Nicely read, thank you. So, how does having a grateful spirit help us to be content? Thanks, Sister McLean.
Well, when we are grateful, we appreciate and are thankful for what we have. We focus more on the positive things in our life rather than what we wished we had, which contributes to our contentment.
Okay, thank you. Brother Byanek, please.
The scripture we read in 1 Thessalonians said, give thanks for everything. So even things we may just take for granted, the necessities of life, we can be thankful to Jehovah for such things. If we have any privileges of service, we can be thankful for these things. We can be thankful we're a worshipper of Jehovah God. So we can be thankful to Jehovah for everything.
Yeah, very good. And let's have Sister Mary Carr in the back row there.
And when we regularly thank Jehovah for our blessings, we develop a deep appreciation that makes us less likely to feel discontent or envious of others.
Yeah, very good. And Brother Arias, please.
Yeah, the last line in the paragraph really highlights what when we bring all of this together, when we show that ourselves are content, it says that He provides us the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. So who does not want that peace? We want that peace, so we just need to be thankful.
Yeah, very good. And Sister Lim, please.
Paul wrote 1 Thessalonians 5:18 to the Christian in Thessalonica. They were facing persecution and hardship, yet Paul encouraged them to stay joyful and prayerful and thankful in every situation. So his message reminds them that gratitude is not dependent on perfect condition, but on deep trust in God's care.
Right, very good. Thanks, Brother Finney. Over here.
And so possibly, if we're searching for this quality, we just need to think about it. We've already been encouraged that it's something that we have to work on, not take for granted. And our closeness to Jehovah, of course, will reflect the way that we can be happy as we enjoy praying to Him on a regular basis.
Yeah, very good. Now, we're not saying this is going to be simple. It's something, obviously, we have to put some effort into. So let's have a look at an example from the Bible in paragraph 5.
Consider what happened to the Israelites. On a number of occasions, they complained to Jehovah that they lacked the food they used to enjoy in Egypt. Granted, life in the wilderness was not easy. What would have helped them to be content? They should have reflected gratefully on what Jehovah had already done for them. In Egypt, where they were brutally treated as slaves, Jehovah brought 10 plagues on their captors. After the Israelites were set free, they plundered the Egyptians of silver, gold, and clothing. When the Israelites were chased to the edge of the Red Sea, Jehovah miraculously parted the waters. And as they traveled through the wilderness, He fed them daily with manna. What then was the problem? The Israelites were discontent, not because they lacked the food they needed, because they were not grateful for what they had already had.
Paragraph 5, and we've also got the picture to consider here. For what reasons should the Israelites have been grateful? Thanks, Brother Jericho.
The Israelites did not lack of their basic needs in the wilderness, yet they were not contented. They should have reflected on many blessings and how Jehovah miraculously freed them from the Egyptians, being slaves. Moreover, the gold, silvers, and the clothing they have, and the food or manna that Jehovah provided for 40 years. Instead of being grateful, numerous occasions they complained to Jehovah just because of the foods they used to enjoy in Egypt, even though they were brutally treated as slaves back then.
Very nice. Thanks, Brother Jericho. Sister Lee.
In Numbers 21:5, it says, "They have come to hate this contemptible bread." So sadly, this shows that the Israelites not only forgot what Jehovah had already done for them, but even went so far as to complain and become angry.
Yeah. Thanks, Brother Barczyk.
When we think of their episode going out of Egypt, when they had some 200,000 of the elite Egyptian killing machine after them, and Jehovah separated them from that and opened the Red Sea, and they went through that. It would be pretty hard to forget seeing that kind of phenomenon, but they tended to harp on like some of us do sometimes, the good old days, and that's what they were reflecting on. But they weren't as good as, they were only remembering certain things, but they were missing the big picture, so they were discontent.
Yeah. Thanks, Sister Wadwani.
Yeah, like we can see in the picture, why did the Israelites become discontent? We can see how they're complaining about the daily manna they were getting. At least they were getting something to eat. But they were saying we were eating leeks and watermelon, things like that, but that's not the truth. So they were discontent even what Jehovah was providing for them.
Yeah. Interesting picture. Do you notice something in that picture that probably counterbalances as well? Thanks, Brother Nicholson.
Yeah, I like how the brothers have put it. Those complaining are actually in the shade or the dark, and those that are grateful in the background are actually in the light. So having that content, grateful spirit, got exactly the same provisions, but it's your attitude very much in a spiritual sense.
Yes. What a powerful message to comprehend. It can change your whole attitude. Thanks, Brother Gonzalez.
So this shows us that the problem that they had was not really a lack of food, but a lack of gratitude. Since if they had acknowledged all that Jehovah has done for them, they would have been much happier.
Yeah, very good. Let's find out a little more in paragraph 6. Thanks, Brother Crider.
How then can you cultivate gratitude? First, make time each day to think about the good things you enjoy. You might even write down 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for. Second, express your gratitude. Take the initiative to thank others for what they do for you. Above all, thank Jehovah regularly. Third, choose as close friends those who are thankful. Gratitude is contagious, so is discontentment. When we are focused on expressing gratitude, we are less likely to be consumed by feelings of discontent.
Paragraph 6. What are some ways that we can cultivate gratitude? Okay, we'll have young Isaac first. Down here, thanks.
Think of friends and thank Jehovah.
Very true. That's something we really want to do, isn't it? Okay, and then we'll go to young Sister Hamilton. Not Hamilton, Hunter.
First, we can think about the good things that we have. Second, we can show our thanks to other people and Jehovah. Third, we should choose friends who are thankful.
Excellent. Okay. We'll have Brother Jason there as well. You're there too.
Just elaborating on Sister Hunter's comment. One of these ways is dedicating time to appreciate the things that we can be content in our lives. And by doing this, it helps us to put into perspective the blessings that we already have. You know, simple things such as being able to enjoy close friends and living in a relatively peaceful country can just really, it's really simple, but it can really put into perspective on the stuff that we can be content on instead of the stuff we don't have.
Yeah, so what's the real value then in focusing on things that will help us with our gratitude? Thanks, Brother Davis.
We've learnt that gratitude is contagious, but so is discontentment. So when we focus on expressing gratitude, we are more likely to be consumed with feelings of, we are less likely to be consumed with feelings of discontentment.
Yeah. So what a beautiful secret that we now have clear in our minds that we can put to good use. Paragraph 7, thanks, Brother Kevin.
Consider what happened to Aci, who lives in Indonesia. She admits, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I began to compare my circumstances with those of my fellow believers. As a result, I became discontent. What helped her to change her thinking? Aci says, I started to count the blessings I was receiving each day and to reflect on the many good things I had gained from being part of God's organization. Then I expressed my gratitude to Jehovah. As a result, I came to feel truly content. If you have negative thoughts overwhelming you, could you take similar steps to regain a grateful spirit?
Paragraph 7, our question, how did Archie cultivate gratitude and with what result? Thanks, Sister Jean.
In this paragraph, we see a true example of how gratitude is contagious and how this contentment is contagious as well. So Archie, during the COVID-19, of course, everything is in great shortage. He started to compare his circumstances with his fellow believers. As a result, he became discontented. Maybe he focused on what he doesn't have. Then what helped him? He said he started to count the blessing he was receiving each day and reflect on the many good things he had gained from being part of Jehovah's organization. Then he feel grateful for Jehovah. He feeling fully contented. This example shows us how we can cultivate contentment and we gain our spiritual grateful spirits.
Yeah, very nice. A beautiful example, isn't it? Thanks, Sister Kreider.
And in line with Galatians chapter 6, verse 4, rather than compare what we do with what others do, we should focus on what we are personally able to do. This will help us to be balanced and will protect us from being discouraged.
Yeah, very good. So what a powerful little discussion about cultivating gratitude, and maybe you can picture yourself somewhere in that, and maybe there's some real value in things that you've learnt from that you can apply that will help you to cultivate gratitude. And really the end result, of course, is we want to learn contentment, don't we? Well, let's have a look at the next point. Stay focused and remain humble. Let's look at paragraph 8. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
The prophet Jeremiah's secretary, Baruch, temporarily fell into a trap. Baruch had a difficult assignment, namely to support Jeremiah as he delivered a strong message to an ungrateful nation. At one point, Barak lost his focus. Instead of concentrating on what Jehovah wanted him to do, he apparently began thinking too much about himself and what he wanted to do. Through Jeremiah, Jehovah told Barak, "You are seeking great things for yourself. Stop seeking such things." In other words, he was saying, be content with your present circumstances. Barak accepted the correction and continued to enjoy Jehovah's approval.
Paragraph 8, our question, what trap did Barak fall into? Thanks, Brother Harp.
Well, the problem was he lost his focus. He had a wonderful privilege to be secretary to Jehovah as a prophet, Jeremiah, but he started to concentrate on himself, what he wants, and he forgot totally his privilege. And that's why Jehovah told him, stop being discontent, just be content. And he corrected himself.
Yeah, very good. So what was it that Barak's focus turned to? What was the, what may we learn from that? Thanks, Brother Beinek.
The scripture says you are seeking great things for yourself. So maybe he was looking to some sort of secular opportunity at the time, or something like that. We're not quite sure. But obviously that system back then was coming to an end, so there was no point looking for such things when the important thing was serving Jehovah and his capacity of helping Jeremiah.
Yeah, very good. Do you think there's opportunities to seek great things for yourself today? Could that be a hazard? Well, let's find out a little more in paragraph 9. Thanks, Brother Crider.
At times, a Christian may feel that he is entitled to a certain privilege of service. He might be very talented, hard-working, or experienced, or perhaps all three. However, others may receive the very privilege he would like to have. How could he reason on the matter? He could reflect on what the Apostle Paul wrote as found at 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. Every privilege we receive and every talent we have comes from Jehovah. We do not earn or deserve these gifts. They are all expressions of Jehovah's undeserved kindness.
Let's get a reader for 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7. Thanks, Brother Eli Gallo.
Now, brothers, these things I have applied to myself and Apollos for your good, that through us you may learn the rule. Do not go beyond the things that are written, so that you may not be puffed up with pride, favoring one against the other. For who makes you different from another? Indeed, what do you have that you do not receive? If, in fact, you did receive it, why do you boast as though you did not receive it?
Nicely read, thanks, Brother Eli. So according to 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, what will humility move us to recognise? And then we've got the picture to consider as well. Thanks, Brother Papa.
Every privilege that we receive comes from Jehovah.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Thanks, Brother Yeomans.
So if the privileges come from Jehovah, it's Jehovah's work. And so while he appreciates that we might use our abilities in his service, the reality is that Jehovah is blessing is causing success for the outcome. So Jehovah really values our humility more than our abilities or the amount of work we do. And so it's the humility really that we want to cultivate, and that will lead to our contentment.
Okay, so just think about this for a moment. So maybe you've got some natural talent, some natural ability, And that could easily make you think that you're better or really good. But the underlying thought of that scripture is telling us what about what we have. Thanks, Sister Christina.
Ephesians 2 verse 8 said, "By this undeserved kindness you have been saved through faith, and it's not of your own doing. Rather, it is God's gift." So every privilege we receive and every talent we have comes from Jehovah. We do not earn or deserve these gifts. They are all expression of Jehovah's undeserved kindness.
Yeah, so how does that affect our attitude towards abilities we may have? Thanks, Brother Davis.
It should help us to remain humble.
Yeah, it's a nice frame of mind to get ourselves into to help us with that, isn't it? So thinking of the picture there, how is that helping us to understand this point? Thanks, Brother Hub.
Well, those three different abilities, whether the brother at his work and the sisters maybe translating in sign language, and the brother's ability in talking or his talks is excellent. But all these gifts are coming from Jehovah, and that's why we should return thanks to Jehovah.
Yeah, okay. And Sister Crider, please.
And if we are humble, we want to focus on using our gifts and abilities to serve others and to build up the congregation.
Yeah. And where are we diverting the praise then, which demonstrates our humility? Thanks, Sister Cohen.
Well, Isaiah 26:12 mentions that everything we have done for Jehovah, Jehovah has accomplished for us. So we want to honor Jehovah for what we have done.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Well, let's have a look now at paragraph 10. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
We can cultivate humility by thinking deeply about the example that Jesus set for us. Consider what happened on the night that Jesus washed his apostles' feet. The Apostle John wrote, Jesus, knowing, 1, that the Father had given all things into his hands, and 2, that he had come from God, and 3, was going to God, started to wash the feet of the disciples. Jesus could have felt entitled to have his own feet washed, but during his life on earth, he never felt that he deserved a more prosperous and comfortable life. Jesus was humble, he was content, and he set a perfect pattern for us.
Paragraph 10, how can we cultivate humility? Thanks, Sister Yola Harb.
By thinking deeply about the example that Jesus set for us. He was humble and he was content.
Very nice, thanks for that. Okay, Sister Bisanelli, please.
Yeah, in this occasion, Jesus was not instituting a ritual of foot washing. Rather, he was helping his apostles adapt a new frame of mind, one of humility and willingness to perform the lowest of tasks in behalf of their brothers. Evidently, they have the point.
Okay, thanks for that. And Sister Ashley Lim.
And so Jesus, who is only second to Jehovah,
He didn't think more of himself than was necessary, and he didn't expect superior treatment, but he lowered himself and accepted his role and what he was on earth to do. So he set an example for us and showed true humility in his thinking and his actions, and acknowledged that everything is from Jehovah. So when we think deeply about that example, it can motivate us to do the same.
Yes, very good. John 13:15 talks about what we've just discussed. What does it say about that? Thanks, Sister McCulloch.
That Jesus set the pattern for his disciples back then, and also he sets the pattern for us today of humility.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for that. Let's have a look at the final paragraph in this section, 11. Thanks, Brother Kreider.
Dennis from the Netherlands has tried to follow Jesus' pattern of humility, but has not been easy. He says, "Sometimes I notice feelings of pride or discontent growing in me, such as when someone else receives a privilege of service. When that happens, I study the topic of humility. In the JW Library app, I have tagged certain scriptures about humility so that I can find them quickly and reread them. I have also downloaded to my phone some talks about humility, and I listen to them often. I have learned that all of the work we do is so that we can glorify Jehovah, not ourselves. Each of us plays a small role in what Jehovah is accomplishing. If you begin to feel dissatisfied with your situation, take steps to cultivate humility. This will strengthen your friendship with Jehovah and help you to feel content."
Paragraph 11, our question, how has humility helped Dennis to feel content? Okay. Thanks, Brother Denzel.
Dennis learned all the work we did, and he said, "I have learned that all the work we do is so that we can glorify Jehovah, not ourselves. Each of us play a small role in what Jehovah is accomplishing. If we begin to feel dissatisfied with our situation, take steps to cultivate humility that can help strengthen our friendship with Jehovah and help us to feel content."
Very nice. Thanks, Denzel. Sister Gallo, please.
So Brother Dennis started having feelings of pride or discontentment growing in him. So he started studying the topic of humility. He downloaded the JW Library app. He tagged certain scriptures that helped him so that he could quickly go in there and look at them, reread them. He also downloaded talks about humility, which helped him to overcome this discontentment.
Yeah, very good. So what were those talks he downloaded? The footnote tells us. Thanks, Sister Ben.
One of the talk delivered by Brother Hermanus, he described that humility is like we tasting a box of chocolate, and we only know whether the quality is really good only when we taste it. So similarly, humility, the quality that we need to taste it are proven when we accept counsel, when others receive privilege we might have hope for, or when we face new and challenging circumstances. So when we expose ourselves to this kind of circumstances, then we know whether we already cultivate humility.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for that little overview of that particular video. So we can see the content of them are very powerful and have an impact, as Brother Dennis found. Okay, well that brings us to the end of that section, which really was about stay focused and remain humble. So another secret to contentment, if we can do those two things. So we've seen some valuable examples of that. Now let's have a look at the third one, meditate on your hope. Paragraph 12, thanks Brother Kevin.
We feel more content when we meditate on the wonderful hope ahead of us. Jehovah's own words recorded by the prophet Isaiah acknowledge how frustrating life can be today and assure us that Jehovah will relieve those frustrations. We will live in a safe and comfortable housing. We will have meaningful work, and we will eat healthy and delicious food. We will never again worry about dangers to ourselves or to our children. Our future is wonderful, and it's secure.
Okay, let's get a reader for Isaiah 65, verse 21 to 25. Thanks, Sister McCulloch. Tammy?
They will build houses and live in them, and they will plant vineyards and eat their fruitage. They will not build for someone else to inhabit, nor will they plant for others to eat. For the days of my people will be like the days of a tree, and the work of their hands my chosen ones will enjoy to the full. They will not toil for nothing, nor will they bear children for distress, because they are the offspring made up of those blessed by Jehovah, and their descendants with them. Even before they call out, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb will feed together. The lion will eat straw just like the bull, and the serpent's food will be dust. They will do no harm nor cause any ruin in all my holy mountain, says Jehovah.
Beautifully read. Thanks for that, Sister Tammy. So the question on 12, what hope for the future helps us to be content? Okay, let's have young brother Agato.
We will be safe, healthy, and happy in paradise.
Beautiful comment. Thanks for that. Okay. Thanks, Brother Papa.
We will be healthy and eat delicious food.
Yeah. It's a beautiful hope. I hope you're eating delicious food now as well. Thanks, Sister Barlow.
And in Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 17, Jehovah promises that the fruitage of our service to him and hope in his promises will be not just for a fleeting moment, but we will have lasting tranquility and security.
Yeah. I mean, as you read through that passage, it's such a beautiful mental image that it paints, doesn't it? And it's a beautiful thing to focus on, but we want to understand why this is so. So let's continue as we look at 13. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
Now more than ever, we need to focus on our hope. Why? Because we are living in the last days, and we all have problems that are hard to deal with. Jehovah daily helps us to endure by giving us the guidance, strength, and support we need. In addition, our Christian hope can sustain us during difficult times. Perhaps you struggle to provide for your family's material needs. Does this mean that you will always have to struggle to survive? Absolutely not. Jehovah has promised to give you what you need and much, much more in paradise. You may be dealing with chronic pain, depression, or some other debilitating health condition. Is this simply your lot in life with no hope of relief ever? Not at all. Sickness and death will vanish in God's new world. That hope helps us to feel content, free of anger and bitterness right now. We can feel content while facing injustice or loss, enduring sickness or any other trial. Why? Because no matter how difficult or present challenges may be, we know that our tribulation is momentary and that the new world will soon provide permanent relief.
Question on 13. In what circumstances might we especially need to focus on our hope? Thanks, Sister Angelina Schmidt.
Well, Psalms 145 verse 14 says, Jehovah supports all who are falling and raises up all who are bowed down. So this just really shows us it's comforting to know that Jehovah is raising up all who are bowed down by various trials which we all face. And whatever trial we face, whether it be sickness, discouragement, even providing for life's necessities, we can have confidence that Jehovah is always ready to give us comfort, spiritual strength to each one of us. And we know like what's promised for the future, he'll remove any of these trials very, very soon. And this helps us to strengthen our hope now and find joy so that we can remain content.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks, Sister Angelina. Sister Zayat, please.
So we understand that we live in the last days and we can face physical, mental, emotional, financial and spiritual challenges that can feel overwhelming and difficult to handle. And each day we can focus on how Jehovah lovingly provides our guidance and strength and supports us to endure the trials and hope with reliance. And also in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, it tells us that we can focus on unseen, which is everlasting, not on the seen, which is temporary.
Yeah, very good. So it really highlights the value, doesn't it, of focusing on this hope that we have. Well, just taking it a little further, let's move into 14. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
Since hope is vital to our contentment, how can we strengthen it? Just as a person may need to put on eyeglasses to see distant objects more clearly, we might need to take appropriate steps to strengthen our hope so that we can see the future paradise more clearly. When we are consumed by worry about our finances, we can picture what our life will be like when money, debt, and economic inequality are gone. If we are anxious about privileges of service that we have not yet received, we can think about how insignificant such anxieties will be after we reach perfection and have served Jehovah for thousands of years. We may at first find it challenging to meditate on the future instead of worrying about the present. Over time, however, looking to the future that Jehovah has promised can become natural to us.
Paragraph 14, our question, how can we strengthen our hope? Thanks, Brother Sky.
We can strengthen our hope by thinking about the future, how all our worries like money, debt, and economic inequalities will be erased after reaching perfection. It takes time, but we can rely on the hope that Jehovah gives us.
Very nice. Thanks, Brother Sky. Thanks, Sister Woodwani.
Yeah, it might be hard to meditate the future instead of worrying because we open our eyes in this world where it's always been having problems and anxieties. But when we reflect on Jehovah's promises, that will be gone forever. And then we reflect on Jehovah's promise that will give us hope and serve Jehovah willingly.
Yeah, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 19 helps us to understand what we're achieving by doing this. What is it talking about there? Thanks, Brother Arias.
So here he talks about thinking about setting up a foundation for the future. So in other words, the things we are suffering or the things that we need now, in the future, they won't be there when we truly receive what Jehovah wants us to receive, which is the real life in the new system.
Yeah, very good. So what a brilliant view to have, or focus to have, that hope that really is underscoring a real life. Well, that brings us to the final paragraph in this section. Let's read 15. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
Consider how hope has helped Krista, who is married to Dennis quoted earlier. She relates, I have a progressive muscle disease that forces me to use a wheelchair and to spend most of the day in bed. I'm in pain every day. My doctor recently told me that my prospects do not look good. But I immediately thought, he sees the future differently. I'm focused on my hope, which gives me peace of mind. Today, I may have to endure living in this world, but I will fully enjoy the new world.
15, our question, what do you learn from Krista's comments? Thanks, Sister Bronkhorst.
From Krista's example, we learn that real peace doesn't come from perfect health or circumstances, but from confidence in Jehovah's promises. Her immediate reaction to the doctor's words shows deep faith and spiritual focus. She reminds us that no matter what we are going through, hope can lift our hearts and help us endure with joy.
Yeah, very good. And thanks, Sister Castro.
Sister Krista definitely meditates on 2 Corinthians 4, verse 17 and 18. She knew that her difficult situation now is momentary and light compared to the greatness that she will about to receive in the paradise. I learned from Sister Krista that focusing on our future hope will help us endure our present hardships and will make us truly content today.
Yeah, very good. It's a very powerful example, isn't it? It's easy to meditate on what the doctor was talking about, and where would that have taken her? Probably into depression. Meditating on the hope, totally different outcome. So just that section, meditating on our hope, we see that third secret to contentment and how powerful it is. Those who fear him lack nothing. Our final couple of paragraphs. Let's get Brother Kevin to read 16 first.
A contented servant of Jehovah will still face problems. King David suffered the loss of at least 3 of his children. He was wrongly accused, betrayed, and hunted as a fugitive for years. Still, while enduring a severe trial, he said of Jehovah, "Those who fear him lack nothing." Why could he say that? Because although we, as Jehovah's people, do not expect a trouble-free life, we are certain that we will never lack what we truly need. And we can count on Jehovah to sustain us through all our trials. We can be content.
Paragraph 16, our question, why could King David write that those who fear Jehovah lack nothing? Thanks, Sister Kakamai.
We know that during this old system, Jehovah's people will not be shielded from life's problems. But as King David had recognized, we will never lack what we truly need to sustain us. We will never be tempted beyond what we can bear. And as Jehovah's people, we are rich in life, not in material possessions as such, but we are always taken care of spiritually and emotionally. And we have Jehovah as our best friend. So as David did proclaim, we do lack nothing.
Yeah, very good. And thanks, Sister McCulloch.
And we can see David's faith in Jehovah, because he went through very trying times at the time. He suffered the loss perhaps of 3 of his children. He was also wrongly accused, betrayed and hunted as a fugitive for years. But amidst all that, he still relied on Jehovah. And so similarly, we learn from that example, and we can do so ourselves.
Yeah, and Jehovah's promise to us there in Psalm 145, verse 16. How do you feel about that? Thanks, Brother Davis.
Yeah, we know that we all lack problems and trouble at the moment through this system of things, but we can count on Jehovah to sustain us, because in that psalm, David said, "You open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing."
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, let's have a look at our final paragraph, 17. Thanks, Brother Kevin.
Jehovah wants you to be content, so endeavor to learn the secret of contentment. If you work hard to cultivate gratitude, to remain focused and humble, and to strengthen your hope, you will be able to say, "Yes, I am content."
Thanks for your reading, Brother Kevin. It's made us very content today. Okay, so our final paragraph there, 17. Why are you determined to learn the secret of contentment? Thanks, Sister Barlow.
Jehovah wants me to feel content, but also it will help me now to hold on to my hope for the future.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for that. And no, down the back row, sorry. Thanks, Sister Cindy.
Aside from Jehovah wants us to be content, by doing so it'll make us happy while waiting for this old system to end. And Jehovah's a happy God, and we want to be imitators of him, and contentment will also keep us joyful serving him no matter what circumstances we're in.
Yeah, very nice. And then we'll get Brother Albert. Thanks.
Being a Jewish people, we must be determined to learn the secret of contentment. Because contentment is one of a prerequisite for the salvation. Because if you have a contentment, you will be humble and you can endure till the end of the system of things.
Yeah, very good. So it's such a powerful gift, being content, or this contentment, and given the secret to show us how, even in adverse situations, is a really important thing that we're given here. So let's have a look at our review points. How do the following help you to be content? Cultivating gratitude. Thanks, Sister Leone.
Has affected us in a profound way, giving our life real meaning and purpose, humility, and trust in Jehovah, knowing our understanding.
Okay, thanks for that. Brother Samuelu at the back.
One way we can cultivate gratitude is by writing down all the times and ways that Jehovah has blessed us in our life. By doing this can help us, reminds us of Jehovah's love, especially when we start to feel discontent.
Yeah, very good. And what was that point about expressing gratitude? How can we do that? Not just to Jehovah, but who else might we express it to? Thanks, Sister Harb.
Thanks others for what they do for us.
Yeah, and what about the friends we choose? Why will that be important? What sort of thanks, Sister Katrupi.
It mentioned in the study that gratitude is contagious, so if we choose thankful friends, that'll rub off.
Yeah, very good. Okay, then the next one there, how does remaining focused and humble help us to be content? Thanks, Sister Yongshin.
If we take time to reflect on and focus on what Jehovah will do for us in the future, then we can be content and our heart will overflow with gratitude.
Yeah, very good. And Brother Bronkhorst, please.
In the life story of the same issue, we find a brother who was asked to, after joining Bethel, was asked to become a lawyer, and he actually says that he was dangerously unaware of how it would affect his spirituality. He said, higher education can nurture a desire for self-promotion and foster the notion that you have specialized knowledge, elevating you above others. But eventually he did come to his senses, and he recognized David's words when fighting Goliath, that the battle belongs to Jehovah. So he was able to develop that humility, but he had a bit of a detour along the way.
Yeah, then we had that beautiful example of Jesus, didn't he? If anybody had reason to really feel elevated about themselves, he did. But what did he do that demonstrated that humility was who he was to his very core? Thanks, Brother Crider.
Yeah, he washed the feet of his disciples to show that.
Yeah, what a lesson for us, Brother Bisanelli.
And he set a good example for us in humility.
Yeah. And then meditating on your hope, how's that going to help us to be content? Thanks, Sister McLean.
Well, knowing that Jehovah will not only soon relieve us of all our suffering, but also bless us with everything that makes life truly enjoyable, helps us to endure and be content with our temporary lot in this system.
Yeah. And it's interesting that, like, one thing to look to the future, but what does Jehovah do for us even now? Thanks, Brother McLean.
Well, as we looked at Psalm, or it was mentioned, Psalm 145:16, that says Jehovah satisfies the desire of every living soul. So even now, Jehovah, if we put Jehovah first in our life, then our lives we will be content with what Jehovah gives us.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, thanks so much for your comments today. We've run out of time, unfortunately. That brings us to the end of our meeting. So Song 118 is our final song. Give us more faith, very appropriate to our discussion. And then following that, we'll invite our speaker, Brother Yeomans, to conclude with prayer for us. And then following that, please be seated once again.